I have always loved taking road trips. In the past few years, the family has too, which has been great. So with the twins getting older, I decided this year I was going to plan something epic. We were going to drive from Ohio to the Grand Canyon, stopping at a whole bunch of Route 66 attractions along the way. So I spent a couple months researching, finding neat places to stop, and then planning everything out so that I had a pretty good idea of where we'd be each day. I didn't want to make the schedule too tight, but I wanted to make sure that I had landing points. Now, being a planner also comes with being an overthinker, and I started getting nervous about the wheels and tires on Wine and Roses. We're talking about 4,000 or 5,000 miles, and these old 16.5s with Trans-Force truck tires just weren't going to give me any confidence. So I bit the bullet and bought new wheels and tires. Dropped them off at Bobo's to get mounted and balanced, then dropped the van off to get the tires changed out, change the oil, and check the air conditioning, just to make sure we had everything covered. And visually, what a difference! Air conditioning seemed good to go, and I took it for a test drive, and it seemed like some of the front end shibby that it had always had went away too. Now I was feeling confident for the trip. So, after months of planning and saving and budgeting, it was time to get on the road. One of the hurdles I had to overcome with planning was some of the things were only open Monday through Friday, and I only had one Monday through Friday stretch to get off work, along with an extra Friday and an extra Monday. So that meant we had to drive 7 hours to Pontiac, Illinois the first night so that we could be on schedule. Luckily, I was able to get off a couple hours early on Thursday, which really helped things. Otherwise, I figured I was going to be driving all night long. But the drive from Ohio to Illinois, everything kind of looks the same, so we weren't going to miss much. And I learned very quickly that everything is under construction right now, including this thing, which was pretty cool. Hey babe, check out this old Dodge van someone's working on. Now, like I said, I've always loved road trips. I like driving. I like seeing the scenery change. I like hearing the radio stations change. I like seeing the same cars on the road and maybe catching up with them at a gas station, asking them where they're going. I have some great memories of all those types of situations from when I was a kid, and I'm hoping I'm giving the twins those as well. One thing that I had not factored in was the time change. So after our 7-hour drive to our first motel, it was actually only 9 o'clock, which was great. Gave us a great start for the next day. I chose Pontiac, Illinois as our jump-off point because it really embraces its Route 66 heritage. There's murals all over the place, and they have a museum. Now, I may have been a little overexcited and hadn't factored in the time change, so we had plenty of time to walk around the town before the museum actually opened.
Welcome to old Route 66.
Now, like I said, one of the things that Pontiac is really proud of are all of their murals. And a lot of them were done by the same guy that does murals all along Route 66. So it was pretty neat foreshadowing of what we were going to see, and a lot of these towns were already on my list. They also have all these little muraled 57 Chevy photo op things, but this one was neat because, again, it showed a whole bunch of spots we were going to be. I was like a little kid pointing out, we're going to go there, we're going to go there. So after about an hour of sightseeing, we were finally able to go into the museum. Rose, who's been there for like 17 years, is world famous on YouTube for giving tours, and she really gave us a lot of information about all the exhibits, the history of the building, and everything else. She told us about all the travelers from all over the world that stop in on a weekly basis, and a lot of people start at California, so this is actually the ending point. There's a lot of history collected in this place. Some of it's relatable, some of it's not, but I can definitely appreciate it. And as we came to find out, there was a whole lot more history in this building we were yet to see. So upstairs is another area called Life in the 40s, and it's exactly what it sounds like. It's a collection of everyday things to kind of recreate what the average household was like in the 1940s. When Rose was telling us about it, she described it as like going to Grandma's house. But As time moves on, this is more like great-grandma's house, and for some people, they've never seen stuff like this. So it's a really cool time capsule. Now, of course, it's impossible to have anything about the United States in the 1940s without involving the war. So on the next floor, they have a Veterans Museum that's beautifully curated. And we talked to the guy who runs it, it was actually his father's dream, and the Route 66 Museum was his mother's dream, and he keeps them going.
I want you to get his story recorded. 7 minutes about what it was like to land on Omaha Beach that day. This was the greatest amphibious operation in history.
Now, when I started the van up to leave Pontiac, it had a slight misfire at idle, which was weird. And then it got worse as we were going up a hill. The engine started chugging, the check engine light started flashing at me, and my worst fear that the spark plugs were going to start shooting out of this thing came to mind. With 8 days ahead of us, the best I could do at the moment was put some Lucas in this thing and hope for the best. It didn't seem to like having the air conditioning on at idle, so I made sure that we were always at highway speed before I turned that on. Other than that, it was in God's hands. I had a plan if we needed to get home, but I didn't want to pull that just yet. There were a lot of miles to cover, a lot of things to see, and I wasn't going to let my own anxiety ruin this trip. We were going to deal with it and stick to the plan. And the good news was, once we got into Missouri, things stopped looking like Ohio. And we started seeing the roadside attraction billboards that I just love. I love how they put for hundreds of miles building up so that once you finally get to a spot, you feel like you can't possibly miss it. I'm a sucker for it every time. Plus, these caverns lined up perfectly with lunchtime. Missouri has 2 main cavern attractions that both claim to be hiding spots for Jesse James and his gang, which is pretty cool. I really don't care if it's true. I really don't care if it's historically accurate. It's a neat place to stop and see, and that's what these road trips are for. You see something and you go, hey, let's check this out. It's along the way. And we didn't have to be in Carthage until that night. When I was planning this trip and pointing out all these different things and talking to the family about, hey, I saw this, I saw that, one of the things that the twins really got excited about was the Route 66 drive-in in Carthage, Missouri. So I definitely put that on the list. Didn't even matter what movie was playing. We love drive-ins. And I was very happy to see that this was a nice, well-maintained drive-in. We've been to some rough ones. Not to say we wouldn't have enjoyed ourselves, but it makes it a whole lot easier. The owner came out, thought the van was really neat. They had the best selection of souvenir t-shirts I've ever seen at a drive-in. It was a great time. The next morning we set off for Galena, Kansas, which was only a half an hour away from Carthage. So instead of having breakfast at the motel, we stopped at this coffee shop and had breakfast in Galena, which was kind of cool because the guy sitting next to us was from Canada and had written a whole bunch of books on Route 66, and he was doing a book signing across the street at Gearhead Curios, which I thought was just a photo op gas station, but it's actually run by Aaron and his wife. He showed me pictures of his daughter's Chevy van that she's road tripping in. He was excited about ours and more excited to show us the bathroom he made.
52, pink toilet, pink and white checkerboard floor, a heated and bent wrenches for hooks, recycled pallet wood, diamond plate aluminum, a C-clamp and wrenches for my toilet paper. My divider is 1934 Model A hood sides. That's the urinal. These are so you know where to stand. That's the flush.
Oh my god!
And we have merchandise. We have keychains, hat pins, postcards, magnets, koozies, and t-shirts. I happen to be wearing it today for the restroom. Well, my friend Rita, when I got the t-shirt, she goes, what if I hit the funnel? So in honor of Rita, we let the ladies hit the funnel. Then one lady goes, if I do that, I want everyone to know. You get the honk. You receive a round of applause. You get your picture holding the hubcap, and on my Facebook it says, I hit the funnel at Gearhead Curios. Oil drain basin with a brass gas pump nozzle as my sink. Heated and bent wrenches to hold everything. Foaming hand soap in an oil can. 1958 Ford radiator. 59 Ford valve cover. 62 Oldsmobile Starfire air cleaner cover. The swag lights behind you are 1930s headlights. And then this was gifted this year, the continuous roll towel dispenser.
Finding this shop was a neat little surprise. It was actually a stop on the Route 66 Drag and Drive event that Sick Week was putting on that week. But the reason I had Galena on our list was that it was a big inspiration for the movie Cars. When Pixar was touring the country down Route 66 to do their homework on how the interstate had affected these small towns, this was one that they landed on. There are several buildings that they recreated in the movie, and it's actually the home of the original Mater tow truck and the original Mater man that the character was based on.
That's the original that they based the character on.
Joe Kraft, who was the head of story for Monsters Inc. Toy Story and Cars, and that's him looking at our truck parking inside the building over there.
As I fired up the van to leave Galena, the check engine light came on and stayed on. Our next motel room was booked in Oklahoma City, so I figured maybe we could get there and have someone check it out. But as long as this thing was running, I wasn't deviating from the plan or letting it ruin anything. We were on vacation and there was stuff to see. Even though the Blue Whale was only built in like the 70s, it's iconic and synonymous with Route 66. It's on a ton of t-shirts and maps and everything else. We had to stop here. Our next motel was booked in Oklahoma City, so we got into town and looked for local places to eat like we always do. The first place that we stopped hadn't updated its website, and it's now 21 and over, like a gambling type place, so we went down the street to Main Event, which was nice. We got to relax, the boys got to play some games, and bring home some new souvenirs from the trip. After that, we headed back to the motel and hung out in the pool for a little while. Following a whole bunch of Facebook advice, we were going to stop at AutoZone the next morning and have them read the code and see if there was something we needed to get taken care of. But the light was off and it never came back on. We hit the road before AutoZone even opened, and it was smooth sailing pretty much the rest of the trip. This particular leg of the trip was a long one. It was OKC to Albuquerque, stopping at Amarillo, Texas along the way. There was one spot that, again, is just iconic, and if you're doing this road trip, you gotta stop and see it. The world-famous Cadillac Ranch art exhibit in Amarillo, Texas. It's weird, it's quirky, but it's definitely memorable. From there, it was almost another 300 miles to Albuquerque.
Welcome to New Mexico.
We got into New Mexico and we were making great time. Until we weren't. We hit some road construction that brought everything to a halt for about 40 minutes. Now normally that'd be annoying enough, but sitting in a van that's had a misfire for hundreds of miles that you don't know when it's going to come back was a little nerve-wracking. But we made it through, got into Albuquerque, and another classic American institution. Our motel was in Old Town, Albuquerque, and we found this Mexican restaurant that had embroidered chairs and hand-painted booths. And one thing I learned about Albuquerque, the car scene is awesome. Lowriders, hydraulics, tuners, Hellcats, up and down Main Street all night long. It was pretty cool. Now, one thing that I really enjoy is seeing trains going across the country. We see them a lot through the city, and we're usually stopped in traffic because of it, but it's almost like seeing a zoo animal in its natural habitat. There's just something about train cars going across the country that inspires wonder of what's in there and where's it going. One thing the book signing guy in Galena's told us was that he really liked the Petrified Forest even more than the Grand Canyon, and he's done Route 66 like 6 times, so I figured it was worth it to take his advice. And I didn't realize that the Painted Desert was part of the same national park. Along with the Painted Desert, there's also these old stone carvings that are like thousands of years old. The Petrified Forest National Park is like a 38-mile drive. There's only 3 of these in the world, so it's a pretty big deal that it's here. And it's also kind of interesting that all this stuff is in Arizona. This whole area was an ancient forest that eventually all the trees got fossilized, and it's really eerily quiet. There's a whole lot of urban legend and documented stories of people who took petrified wood from these forests, and it kind of ruined their lives. It's not worth it. I feel like once we were in Arizona, this trip really hit its stride. More roadside attractions, more historic things.
Wigwams on the left, honey. Wigwams.
Next up on the list was the meteor crater, which we always joke was conveniently hit right next to the visitor center. They had a 4D interactive movie that we were kind of interested in checking out. So when the doors opened, we went into the theater. Turns out we found ourselves in a lecture that we couldn't get out of.
The solar corona of the solar wind to help us figure out what's going on. And like so, it does have chronographs, but the instruments on board that I'll be showing some images from are actually called healers.
From there we drove deeper into Arizona, and I was amazed by the amount of pine trees. If someone had shown me a picture of this, I would have guessed we were in Oregon, not in Arizona. I think of Arizona as desert, but it turns out there's a lot of different terrain and a lot of different temperatures. Our next stop was Seligman, which was the farthest west we were going to go. It's actually an hour and a half past the Grand Canyon. It's like 110 miles from Los Angeles. But it was another old town that I wanted to see, and it was very influential in the movie Cars.
Here we are, boys. Check this out.
One thing that struck me on this trip was just how influential Cars was to these towns. It's interesting because the storyline is that the interstate came by, bypassed all these little towns, which then kind of died on the vine. The movie brought interest to that and gave these towns a reason to be tourist attractions again. It's kind of a neat full circle type of a thing that I don't know that anybody really thought of when they made it, but it definitely works. We got into Seligman a little too late and had to leave a little too early to go to the Grand Canyon to be able to visit any of the shops, but I'm still glad we went. That morning, we finally hit our main destination, the Grand Canyon. It doesn't matter how many pictures or movies or drone videos you've seen, the Grand Canyon cannot be described without experiencing it.
Stop!
Stop. I'm just seeing. You're getting closer and closer.
He said stay 6 feet away. Now I understand what you're talking about.
We got there early enough to catch the Red Line bus, which are these shuttle buses that take you along different areas. The Red Line, they say, is best early in the morning or later in the afternoon because it gets busy. We lucked out, and it's really wild. You would think once you see it, it's just the same, but every stop, every viewpoint is completely different.
There's the crow.
The crow and the squirrel became kind of our mascots along the trip, and the boys both got stuffed animals to commemorate it. After a day at the Grand Canyon, we headed down to Flagstaff, where our next motel was booked. It was actually the only one that I booked for 2 nights because it was so cool. They even gave me 2 welcome beers at check-in.
Oh, it's got a disco ball.
It's got a family truckster.
Now, we had this second day in Arizona as kind of a buffer. I didn't necessarily have anything planned. That way, if we wanted to stay later somewhere else, we wanted to go back to the Grand Canyon, whatever it was. So Jeanette made a Facebook post asking for recommendations in the area, and unanimously, everyone said we should go to Slide Rock State Park. With how elaborate modern water parks are, it's easy to forget that this is actually natural, not man-made. As we were walking back to the van, these old tractors caught my eye. Now, I'm not really a tractor guy, but there's definitely some history here. The Americana has a taco stand right on the property, so we got some food and headed back to the room for the night. And we were halfway through the trip, and our dirty laundry bag was getting pretty full. So I went over to the laundromat to wash everything, so we had a fresh start. Now from here we were heading back east, but we were not going directly home. There were still a lot of stops to make. I really wanted to try to hit all of the cities that are mentioned in the song, and Gallup was one of them. So as we'd visit places, some people would ask, "Oh, are you doing the route?" And we kind of cheated. We were on and off the interstate, and honestly, there's a lot of Route 66. There's not a lot going on, and it's kind of run down. So if you're a purist, yes. I'm a little bit of a poser. We didn't do the whole Route 66. I only had so much time. We stayed in a different part of Albuquerque for the next night. Our next stop was the Palo Duro Canyon State Park in Canyon, Texas. Now this isn't as big as the Grand Canyon, but it's just as pretty. And they have a really nice visitor center that's like a mini museum. Now, one of the reasons we stopped in Canyon, Texas was it was the 4th of July. Jeanette loves fireworks, so I wanted to make sure that we had a town that we could go and see some city fireworks at. But before that, we found another local restaurant on Historic 66. The next day we were driving through OKC, and there was one stop that I was hoping to make, but if we needed to cut it out, we would. Fortunately, we got to stop at Farm Truck and Asian's headquarters. Now, I don't know how often these guys are there, and being 4th of July weekend, I'm sure they were out somewhere in the country racing or something else. But I was ready. I had some videos queued up on my phone of the van just in case I got to meet them. It's still cool that I was able to stop and see this place in person. We grabbed lunch and headed to our next motel in Missouri. And got to check off another city mentioned in the song. We found this really cool diner for dinner that's actually built into the side of a cliff, and it's one wall of the diner inside. Now, one recent phenomenon that has seemed to take the world by storm are these Buc-ee's places. So we figured we had to stop and experience this. This is the most gas pumps I have ever seen in my life. Inside, it's kind of like the super Walmart of gas stations, and honestly, it's a little overstimulating. I wasn't a big fan. We all hit the bathroom, got some Buc-ee's nuggets, and got the heck out of there. Our next stop was another Facebook recommendation, kind of impromptu, but I'm really glad we stopped. Uranus is a really fun place. They play up the puns as much as possible, but they also have all of that old roadside attraction carnival stuff that I was looking for on this trip.
Jill, I can't be happy.
Even with the twins growing up in this era of YouTube Shorts and AI and all of the possible entertainment they could want in the palm of their hands at a moment's notice, I'm so glad that we can stop and enjoy these just freaky, silly things that used to entertain people for generations. Now, I didn't film all the attractions or all the things here to see because get out there and see it for yourselves. Like I said, they play up the puns and the innuendo and the double entendre on everything in here, and it's really funny. And out back, they have the world's largest belt buckle. For no reason, it makes no sense, but it's something to look at. The next stop was something I hoped we'd get to see, but if we had to cut it out, we could. Bigfoot's headquarters in St. Louis, Missouri. Bigfoot has always been the icon, the first monster truck, and even though the shop was closed, it was still neat to be able to see it. And we even had time to squeeze in a trip to the St. Louis Arch. The arch is neat enough to see, but the museum that they have downstairs is extremely impressive. After St. Louis, it was pretty much just driving home. We had one more stop in Indy, just to have a place to sleep for the night. We headed home Monday morning. I cannot be happier with the way this trip turned out. We hit everything we wanted to see. Everything was planned out. Nothing went wrong. We never had a bad day. And I feel like even if we would have, we still would have made the best of it. These are the types of memories that I wanted to make, and I really hope that the twins hold on to this forever. And maybe one day, they do this with their own kids. That's why I do it. When all was said and done, we traveled 4,308 miles, we used 308 gallons of gas, and averaged 13.9975 miles per gallon. All of our motel rooms were between $80 and $100 a night. We bought all the souvenirs, t-shirts, magnets, and stickers that we wanted, and still came home with spending money. And a whole bunch of memories to add to the refrigerator to look at every day. So, I hope you enjoyed going on this journey with us. I hope it inspires you to do one of your own. There's a whole lot of America out there to see and a whole lot to experience.